Hello you guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to day 2 in declutter week, where every single day for 7 straight days I am posting declutter content. And I'm really excited because today's video is going to be my bronzer, highlighter, and face palette declutter. And if you know me, then you know I love my face palettes. I will note I actually filmed my face palette declutter quite a bit earlier, like when I was still self-tanning earlier. And I have had a couple of face palettes come into my collection since then. So there is a couple of face palettes missing from my face palette declutter. And then we have bronzers, which I also really love. I love my highlights too. And shockingly enough, I would say of all 3 categories, my highlights are the ones I'm least attached to. But I'm pretty sure that's where I did the worst. I'm pretty sure that's where we did the worst. Anyway, if you're interested in seeing which bronzers, highlighters, and face palettes are staying versus which are leaving my collection, stay tuned. First, if you have yet to subscribe to my channel and you like project panning content, declutters, hanging out, chit-chatting about makeup, eyeshadow palettes, that is what we talk about over on this channel, so I hope you'll consider subscribing before moving on. I will also leave my full declutter playlist linked down below in case you're interested in checking that out. But it's gonna be a long one, so without further ado, let's jump into the video. I almost forgot, quick disclaimer before we start my declutter. Any products that are like old and just like truly need to like make their way to like the recycling bin or the trash are going to make their way to the recycling bin or the trash. I also have a 10-year-old daughter who loves makeup, so anything that she wants that I'm decluttering, I obviously will share with her. I have friends, family, coworkers that I share with as well. So as many products as I can find an actual new home to, I am finding a new home for. Just so you guys are aware of what happens to my makeup after we declutter it. Okay, let's get into the video. We're kicking this declutter video off with one of my prized possessions, my bronzer collection. I love bronzer. I'm sure in most people's eyes I overuse bronzer. I just can't help myself. There is something about a sun-kissed glow, being bronze. I absolutely love it. The only difficult thing is I haven't self-tanned in a while, and so I feel like some of the bronzers, like if I swatch them out on my arms, are gonna look significantly too dark for me. But that's okay, because I know typically in an average year I'm self-tanning quite a bit. I'm out in the sun a lot in the summer, and a lot of these bronzers really do work for me. This is gonna be so hard because bronzer is like one of those categories, like I will buy like 5 bronzers in a span of like a month. I don't know, there's something about like right before, like usually like it's usually May and June, I go bronzer crazy because I'm just so excited about warm weather. I'm from Minnesota, so I have a lot of bronzers. I love my bronzers, but this is also way too many bronzers. It's so funny when I got all these bronzers out to go through today. Before pulling all these out, I was like, I really don't have a lot of bronzers. And then I pulled them all out and I was like, oh my gosh, yes I do. So I definitely reach for my powder bronzers on a more frequent basis than my liquids and creams. So I think I'm gonna start with liquids and creams just because I'm hoping it'll be a little bit easier, but I do love all my liquids and creams. I'm gonna take a sip of coffee before we even get into this. I'm gonna start with these 2 right here. I am gonna be keeping both of these, and actually if I do end up self-tanning before the end of the year, I am still hoping I could finish one of these. Like I feel like I'm so close to finishing this Shay Glowy Super Gel in Sun Glow. I know this is not necessarily considered a bronzer, but I definitely use it as a bronzing product. I usually use it all over my face to match my face to my self-tan, but I wasn't self-tanning as much the latter half of this summer, nor was I outside as much. So I don't know if this is going to be an empty, but I am keeping both of these. I do love both of these. And I will say when I finish, actually we'll get to what I will continue to repurchase for the product that I will match my face to my self-tan. It actually wouldn't be either of these. We'll get into the product next that it would be, which is my Makeup by Mario Self Sculpt Bronzing and Shaping Serum. I am about halfway through this one right here, which is in the shade Fair, and then I ended up buying light medium this year, literally like a week before I halted basically all makeup usage because I just was not feeling well mid-July and beyond. But this is so beautiful, and this is what I love to use all over my face when I want to match my self-tan to my face. It gives the most beautiful glow without being too much. I absolutely love it. The fair definitely matches me better when I am fair, so this is something that I can get use out of now. This is something that this is the product I will continue to repurchase when I want to match my face to my body when I'm self-tanning. I'm definitely keeping both of these. The one thing I do want to note about these is these are not my favorite for like sculpted bronzing or like targeted bronzing. I truly do just use this all over my face. So if you're looking to use this as something that's more of like your targeted everyday bronzer, I personally have found that it's too sheer for me. But like I said in the intro, I do love to over bronze. Those are both staying. Oh, you guys, my cream bronzers are gonna be so difficult. I'm like looking at these, I'm like, is there anything that I feel like I can actually declutter out of my cream bronzers? I really don't know. Okay, well, I know I'm not gonna get rid of this, so I'm just gonna go for this one next because it's another easy one. This is the Ilia Sunshift Cream Bronzer. I got the shade Eclipse. I have a dip in this. When I first got this, I wanna say I got this either at the end of, sometime in May or June. I could not put this down. I said that I typically reach for powder bronzers more frequently, but I was reaching for this every single day. I finished testing it, I had my thoughts on it, and I couldn't put it down. This is one of my favorite products, I believe, that I bought this year. I think it's so beautiful, gives a really beautiful bronzy glow to the skin, and I absolutely adore this, so that I'm definitely gonna keep. I'm gonna pull these 3 products out next, because these 3 are all, well, this is actually more of a bronzer, but these, my Give Beauty Duo, I only have the contour side left, and I don't contour all that much, although I don't feel like this is the most like intense contour type of shade. There it is, swatched right there. Although I'm like, do I even like that tone? Maybe not. Maybe not. Then I also have my Huda Beauty Tantour in the shade Fair, which I do have a pan on. This is so old in my collection. There's that one swatched. Okay, this one still doesn't smell like it's gone off or anything. The one from Give Beauty definitely has more of like a glow to it, but like, do you want your contour to glow? Oh, I feel like I think the difficult part of this is I have a pan in this, and like there's that panner side of me that like would really love to continue to work on this. And it literally doesn't smell off. I used this for a brief time this year while I was hitting a goal in project panning. I feel like I'm not gonna end up being able to get rid of any of my cream bronzers, and you guys are gonna judge me. But I feel like I wanna keep this. I think maybe though, I definitely don't need 2 cream products that are like contouring products. So I actually think maybe I'll toss this in my empties bin, count this as like a half an empty, or maybe count this as an empty, but obviously I didn't finish this part of the product. And I might just declutter the second half of this just because I really don't find myself reaching for this. This was in my plan to pan this year, and I wanted to hit a pan in this. And the only time I'm ever reaching for this product is if I am trying to do like a nose contour, but that's like really me trying to force it. So I think I will declutter my Give Beauty Duo. And then I have my NARS cream bronzer, Sunkissed cream bronzer in the shade Laguna. This is definitely a more pigmented bronzer as well, but I do love this bronzer. It is, again, getting pretty old, but doesn't smell like it's gone off by any means. It's less old than Tantour, and when I swatch those 2 next to each other, I'm like, okay, I feel like maybe it's time to get rid of Tantour. I feel like I should do that because I have so many cream bronzers in my collection, and I don't reach for cream bronzers that much, so like, I feel like I should have less cream bronzers. So I'm gonna declutter Tantour as well. I'm gonna do it. I don't care about contouring, so like I can declutter that. But I am gonna keep the NARS Sunkissed because I do really love this product. I really do. Okay, final decision. Those 2 decluttered. That one's gonna stay for now. All right, next up I have the Cloud Paint, the Glossier Cloud Paint in the shade Dune. Should I zoom you guys in a little bit? I'm just gonna swatch this right here. This is obviously a liquid bronzer. I have kept this because I thought, I don't know why I kept this. Maybe because I just like didn't really have my head wrapped around it. There it is swatched. I feel like that looks quite like yellowy orangey on me. Whereas like something like the Fenty Cheeks Out bronzer in Butter Biscuit is something I'm more likely to reach for just because it is a cream. That one definitely has more of a yellowness to it maybe, but it's definitely less. I feel like this is just not a flattering shade for me for a bronzer. Plus it's a liquid bronzer, and usually I'm only ever reaching for liquid bronzers like all over the face. So I think I can pass along the Glossier Cloud Paint in Dune. I am gonna keep the Fenty Cheeks Out Cream Bronzer though. I do really enjoy this. I am also gonna keep my Makeup by Mario Soft Sculpt Transforming Skin Enhancer. I have the shade Light Medium. I do have a pan in this. This is such a beautiful product. This is pretty sheer. I do like to use this on days maybe that I'm not wearing like anything on my face, but I want like maybe I'm wearing primer, but I'm not necessarily wearing even like a skin tint. I will put a little bit on my forehead and a little bit on my cheeks just to give me like the slightest amount of shape to my face so my face doesn't look as puffy. I actually should pull this out because it's been a little bit since I've reached for this, but there are definitely days that I'm going to the office now not reaching for makeup, and I think I could get a ton of use out of this. I think this is a beautiful product, and this is something I would buy again when I finish. So that is gonna stay. I will also keep, unless it smells weird, I will also keep my Chanel Le Beige Cream Bronzer. Still actually has kind of like a bit of a fragrance to it. I do have a pan in that. I can't remember. I think I hit the pan this year. I think I did hit it this year. There's that one swatched right there. This was expensive. It's like one of my only Chanel products. I do reach for this a decent amount every single summer. It's not, again, it's not the most pigmented, but I do enjoy having this, and I would like to possibly expand that pan in the future. I know there's still a lot of product left in this, and this is another product that is getting older, so perhaps this is something I should focus on for next year, but for the time being, I'd love to keep that. I will also keep my Charlotte Tilbury Beautiful Skin Sunkissed Glow Bronzer. Do not judge me when I open this up. My daughter did get into this, and it looks very interesting. This is something that is definitely a better cream bronzer for me in the summer when I do have more of a tan. There it is swatched, but I think it is one of the most beautiful cream bronzers I've ever used. The way it's more of like a cream to powder, and the way that it just sits on the skin, I just think it's such a lovely product. It's one of my favorite cream bronzers. I mean, this year is reaching for the Ilia a lot, but it has been one of my favorite cream bronzers in my collection to reach for, so I am gonna keep that. And then the last cream slash liquid bronzer I have is the Rare Beauty Liquid Contour in the shade Mellow. I really enjoyed this when I started using it earlier this year, and then I feel like I really liked it when I first started using it. I was like, I think this might be a new favorite cream slash liquid bronzer. And then I really started to change my mind on it, although that is a little bit more soft than, I mean, not that I actually didn't keep any of my liquid contours. I think I might keep this. I know I'm not decluttering a lot out of this section, but I think I actually might keep that just because I did like this when I first started using it. Then my mind kind of shifted a little bit, but I'm not ready to let go. I'm not ready. It is a little bit like more, because it is technically a liquid contour, it's a little bit more cool leaning, or even like neutral cool, so not quite as warm as all of my other cream and liquid bronzers. So I think I will keep this for right now. So that means we did not have a lot of success here. We have 11 that we are keeping, and we are decluttering only 3. Hopefully we'll do a little bit better in the powder bronzer category. Although the one thing I will say is really these two are pretty close to being done. So like, hopefully my bronzer, my liquid bronzer, cream and liquid bronzer collection will go down a little bit. All right, moving on to, okay, maybe I will zoom out a little bit because I don't know if you can see everything. Moving on to my powder bronzers. There's definitely some powder bronzers in here that I am ready to part ways with. And I think I've like slowly been setting the powder bronzers I'm ready to declutter like aside, so they're out of sight, out of mind. And I think that's where maybe I felt like my bronzer collection is diminishing. So we'll see if it actually, like, if that actually happens and I'm actually able to, in this moment, declutter some bronzers. But let's jump into it. I know right off the bat, I am finally ready to declutter my Marc Jacobs Tantastic Bronzer. This is extremely old in my collection, and I just feel like every time I have used this year, it just has not looked flattering on my skin because it just kind of like blends on a little patchy now. Like I feel like the quality has just started to diminish because it is such an old product. Clearly this has gotten a lot of love and a lot of use in its lifetime. Like would I have loved to finish off this ginormous pan of bronzer and feel really accomplished in that regard? Yes, but it is truly just, there's so many other bronzers I'd rather reach for. I am ready to let that one go. Then I have, speaking of ginormous pans of bronzers, I have quite possibly another one of my favorite purchases of the entire year. It's the Dior Forever Nude Soft Matte Bronzer, or I have the shade Soft Matte. I bought this earlier this year when this launched, and this is by far my favorite powder bronzer. I absolutely love this bronzer. I think it is so beautiful on the skin. Anytime I just am like, I really don't know which bronzer I want to reach for today, I'll just reach for this because I just feel like it blends out so beautifully. It's not super pigmented right off the bat, which honestly works better for me because sometimes I can really go too heavy-handed. This is a phenomenal bronzer. I would be devastated if they discontinue this. I really hope that they do not because I really love this one. It is my favorite, and this one is definitely staying. Okay, I have these two bronzers next. These are the NYX Buttermelt bronzers. I have the shade 2 All Buttered Up and 3 Deserve Butter. These I really loved last year. I really loved. Like, these were some of my like favorite bronzers that I purchased and tried last year. I had purchased 3 first and clearly loved it so much that I ended up buying shade 2. What I found with this is I just think it's too pigmented, and I just feel like every time I wore these this year, I was like, what was I doing last year that like, did my bronzer look horrible every time I did it last year, or what was I doing last year that I'm not doing this year? I've just found that it's too pigmented and just doesn't look as flattering on my skin as maybe I once thought that it did. And I kind of feel the same about both shades. So I am actually going to declutter both of these. It's just, I'd much rather reach for my Dior bronzer over either of these two because the Dior is easier to work with. It's not super pigmented right off the bat. I don't have to work as hard to blend it. So it just doesn't make sense for me to keep these when I'd rather be reaching for other bronzers in my collection. So I am ready to pass those two along. Okay, then I have my Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Bronzer. I have the shade 2, and this is another bronzer that I have clearly really loved and adored. I have a really large pan going in this one, and I'm obviously going to keep this one. I still think this is a beautiful bronzer. When I finish this pan, I will probably keep this compact, maybe though, because it's like really big. Maybe I won't, we'll see. But I wouldn't repurchase this bronzer simply because I do like the Dior a little bit better. So I would be just totally fine reaching for this and not needing to replace this. That's not to say I don't like this bronzer. I have still been reaching for this. I have still been enjoying this. I'm excited to see when I do my year end all of the pans in my collection video. I'm excited to see how much this pan has expanded because I do feel like I reached for this a decent amount this year. Again, this will be staying, but it's not a bronzer I think I will replace when I do ultimately complete it. And in fact, maybe this is something I should focus on for next year. Okay, I have my Victoria Beckham Bronzing Duo. I have this little slice of luxury. When I first bought this, I really loved it, but when I used it this year, I just didn't think it was as flattering on my skin. I think I need 1 to 2 shades down. I think this year I was finally coming to terms with like, I can wear a lot of bronzer, but maybe I should get a shade or 2 lighter in bronzer so that even if I do load up on the bronzer, it's not quite as intense. It makes me really sad because this is such a beautiful product. Like, the packaging is so weighted and just beautiful, but I just have other bronzers that just look so much more flattering on my skin. So I am ready to let this go and pass this along to a new home. Okay, next I have this one. This is tricky. So this is the RMS the shade is Beach Walk Betty. It's the Redimension Hydra Bronzer. I bought this during Ulta 21 Days of Beauty. I will say this has not been my favorite so far, but I think a part of that is the shade is just a little bit too dark for me right now. Again, I haven't self-tanned in months and months and months, and I don't want to let this go until I keep this and see what I think of it next summer. I have definitely been liking a glowier complexion overall, and this does have a beautiful kind of sheeny glow to it. And so I really want to see what I think of it when I just think the shade matches me a little bit better, and I do believe it will match me better next summer. So if it doesn't, then I'll end up decluttering it next year. But for right now, I'm going to keep this. I don't see myself reaching for it this winter. It does not look like the most flattering shade on my skin tone, but I do want to give it a fair shot still. Okay, this one's really tough actually. This is the Dior Forever Natural Nude Bronzer in Tan Bronze. I really did like this for such a long time, and now I find that the shade, again, just I don't know if the shade is quite right for me. However, I feel like I was thinking I was gonna declutter it, and then the last few times that I've reached for it, I'm like, I think I'm gonna keep this one actually for the winter, because I do think this is a more flattering shade for me in the winter time. It is a little bit more neutral in tone and not quite as warm as some of my other bronzers, which does flatter me more in the winter. If I don't get a ton of use out of it this winter, then perhaps I will end up decluttering it next summer. But I do think for right now, I will keep this. I have a really good dip going on this like part of the pan, so it'd be fun to hit a pan on this or eventually finish this up if I do end up reaching for it a lot. I don't even know if this is available. Like, I'm pretty sure this has replaced this, but I do definitely prefer this one now, and I don't need to buy this again even if I do end up finishing it. All right, I'm definitely not getting rid of these two luxury treasures. I have two of the Gucci bronzers. I have shade 1 and shade 3. Shade 1 definitely matches me very well in the winter time. I think this is a beautiful formula. Again, more buildable and just lovely. Very, very blendable. Expensive, yes. Packaging is bulky but beautiful. I'm keeping it. And then I have shade 3, which honestly is probably too dark for me even in the summertime, but I have the limited edition packaging. I can make this work for me in the summer, and I just don't want to let this one go. If I'm being honest, I just don't want to let that one go, so I'm gonna keep that. Ooh, then I have the Laura Mercier Bronze Color Infusion blush in the shade 20 Marisol. I bought this earlier this year, and this is something I've kind of gone back and forth and back and forth and back and forth on, and I've realized that I've wanted to like this so bad that I keep giving it chance after chance after chance, but I just prefer other bronzers in my collection. And so when I am reaching for this, it's kind of like I'm forcing myself to reach for it to see if I can make it work for me, to see if maybe I'll like it better whatever day I am reaching for it. And I think it's hard, like when you buy a product, it's hard to just give up on it right away, like within the same year. I just have better bronzers in my collection. So I actually am gonna pass on the Laura Mercier bronzer. I have the What's Up Beauty Wind Dancer Pressed Setting Powder in the shade Tan, which I was keeping around to see if I wanted to use this as a bronzer, and I just don't like it that way. So and obviously this is not gonna work for me as a powder, so I am gonna declutter that as well. I have my Fenty Beauty Sunstalker bronzer in the shade Into Sun. I've actually been reaching for this quite a bit lately just because I haven't been self-tanning. It's one of the lighter bronzers in my collection. I have had this for forever. I have used this so much, and I recently feel like maybe the pan expanded just ever so slightly, but it still feels like I just have this really, really small pan. However, the last 2 times I've reached for this, I feel like it has expanded some. So I'm hoping maybe the pan will really start growing aggressively. But this is something I also want to try and finish next year. I definitely want to try and finish next year. I'm gonna keep it. But this is by far, well, we're gonna get to an older bronzer in my collection, but I'm decluttering that one, so that's an old one. The one that's even older that I am gonna declutter is my NARS Sunwash Bronzer in the shade Laguna. This just doesn't, like, this is so old, it just doesn't perform well anymore. It blends patchily onto the skin and it just does not look flattering. So I am going to get rid of that. I am also going to declutter this Joycey. I think this is actually a blush, but I got it because I thought it looked like a really beautiful bronzer. It's just a little bit too red toned for me, and the shade just doesn't look quite right as a bronzer. So ultimately, not gonna keep that. There's so many other things I'd rather reach for. I'm gonna pass that one along. I am going to for sure be keeping my What's Up Beauty Cheeky Turi bronzer in the shade 10 Light. I had pulled this out about a month ago to start using it to see if it was something that I wanted to keep, and I have not been able to put this down. I have recently started to try and use this a little bit more just to get use out of something else, but I was using this every day for like a solid 2.5 weeks. I absolutely love this. It is like a marbled texture, but it has the most just like natural light bronze to the skin. It looks so flattering. It's a baked product, so you can't, like, it's not super pigmented right off the bat. And I just think this is so beautiful. So I am gonna keep that. And then I'm kind of undecided about the shade 20 medium because I obviously haven't gotten to test this in the same way, but I love the formula so much. I'm like, I probably will really like this when I am tan in the summer. So I am gonna keep this. And again, if I don't end up liking this one as much, if I don't like the shade as much, I can just declutter this one next year. But because I do really, really enjoy this formula, I'm gonna keep this one too, because I think I will get a lot of use out of this next summer. And then that just leaves me with my Benefit Hoola bronzer, which I bought during last year's 21 Days of Beauty. And I bought this because I was watching, around that time I was watching an old video of mine, and I had linked my makeup and I had linked the Hoola bronzer, and I loved the way my bronzer looked in that video. And I'm like, I'll keep Hoola. It's just like, I don't get as excited to reach for it. It's never that I don't like the way that Hoola looks. I just haven't been as excited to reach for the Hoola bronzer. But I feel like this is one I would be kind of decluttering just to declutter. It's a little bit different. Okay, I'm gonna keep Hoola for now. Keeping Hoola, keeping Hoola. Okay, and those are all of my powder bronzers. So after that, we are keeping 10 powder bronzers and we are decluttering 9. Okay, so almost 50% of my powder bronzers. I actually do feel really good about that. I know we did not do as well in the cream and liquid category, but I do feel good about decluttering 9 powder bronzers. Ultimately, that means we landed at keeping 21 of my bronzers and decluttering 11, which still means we decluttered 35% of my bronzers, which honestly, I feel like bronzer is just a tough category. I'm gonna say that probably about all of my categories, but I do love my bronzers. So to declutter over 30%, over 1/3, I do feel really good about that. And so we're gonna feel good about that, and we're gonna move on to the highlight portion of this declutter. Okay. We have highlight here, and I'm honestly so scared. I didn't realize how out of control my highlight collection was until I like put everything together. I need to count these up really quick before we get started. So give me a moment. I have 22 cream and liquid highlights and 26 powder highlights. Holy smokes. Did I say 21 cream and liquid? So 47 total highlights. That's crazy. Plus I also have like highlighters in my face palettes. I'm afraid too, because I feel like highlight is just like, it's a pretty powder, so I feel like it's gonna be kind of hard to declutter some of these. But I want to start with my cream and liquids just because these are what I wear probably the least. Let's see, let me get all of my liquid highlights out. All right, here are all of my true liquid highlights, which I count 12. I'm counting like the Auric Glow Lust and the e.l.f. Liquid Halo Glows in my liquid highlights, even though sometimes I use them more as an all over face and complexion product. And actually I'll start with those 3 products because I am gonna keep all 3 of these. I do have the Auric Glow Lust in the shade Selenite. I honestly have way too many of these liquid highlight products. I need to get through several of these before I allow myself to buy any more. And then I have the e.l.f. Halo Glow Liquid in the shade 2 Fair Light and 3.5. I don't know what 3.5 is. Oh, medium. I was using 3.5 earlier this summer when I had more of a tan, and I was using this all over the face. I thought it was beautiful. I will say I definitely do not reach for my Auric enough. This is getting old in my collection. I really should focus on finishing that up next year. I actually had this on my plan to pan list this year, and it did not go as planned. But I am going to keep all 3 of these. I sadly think I need to declutter my Lisa Eldridge. This is something I definitely at some point will buy again, but right now I think mine's so old. When I swatch this out, it has like these like balls in it, and it just, this is very old as well. Oh my gosh, it's such a pretty product though. I definitely do want to buy more from Lisa Eldridge, or try more from Lisa Eldridge. Maybe next year if I do some like brand deep dives or like full dedicated brand reviews. Lisa Eldridge is definitely one I'd be interested in, and I would absolutely pick up the, what is this called? The Seamless Skin, again, the Elevated Glow. This is such a beautiful glowy product. It's definitely not as pigmented as something like the Auric Glow Lust, but it just gives the most beautiful glassy wet shine to the skin. I'm like, do I declutter mine? I feel like I need to, like, I feel like this is just old in my collection, but it's so pretty. Maybe I'm not noticing the little balls. Should I try and make this work? Let me smell it. Like, does it smell like pool water? Maybe, I don't know. It's just such a beautiful product though. Okay, I lied. Maybe I'm gonna try and make this work, but I literally need to use this. Okay, I guess we're keeping that. This is going great. I'm definitely also keeping my Dior Forever Glow Maximizer. I can't remember if I bought this year or last year, but this is a very, very beautiful liquid highlight. I like that it has the doe foot applicator. I have the shade pink. I do prefer a pink highlighter. I just think this looks so freaking beautiful on the skin. I definitely don't reach for this enough, but I'm gonna keep that. And I think if I'm keeping that, I can definitely let go of the Burt's Bees The Luminizer. This is another pink highlight. And because of the like squeeze tube applicator of this, I just don't ever reach for this. And I would much rather reach for the Dior over this. I still think this is a beautiful product. I just never reach for it because it's just not the most user-friendly. So I'm gonna let go of the Burt's Bees. I think I'll also let go of my Rare Beauty. I can't remember if I've decluttered this and recluttered this or if I didn't, but I definitely know my daughter would love this. I have the shade Mesmerize. I feel like I've decluttered this several times and then like ended up recluttering it. I just prefer something a little bit more icy pink, honestly, when I'm reaching for a pink highlight. I still think that's a beautiful highlight, but my daughter's so into Rare Beauty, she would not mind me passing this along to her. So I'm gonna do that. I think I will definitely also declutter this one from Flower Nose. It's the Midsummer Fairy Tales highlight, and this is like an icy pink champagne highlight, but it definitely has glitter running throughout it. It is really, really pretty, but again, I feel like maybe my daughter could get use out of this, and it definitely has like glitter flakes and specks. It's so pretty. I don't need it. I don't need it. I do not need it. I'm gonna pass this along. This, honestly, of my liquid highlights is probably about the only thing I'd really reach for on my cheeks. I have these two from Bare Minerals. One of them I purchased myself, one of them they sent to me. This is like nothing special, but I don't want to declutter this because I can definitely get use out of it on like my chest and neck area. And I'd rather kind of do that than I don't know of anyone that I could think of to give these to. So I think I will keep both of these, hoping maybe I can finish both of them next summer. They're just kind of like nothing exciting. They're not super pigmented on the cheeks. Here, I can swatch out the shades that I have. Where can I swatch? Everything's already so glowy. This one is in Pink Glow. And it's funny, I would swatch these in store every time my daughter and I went into Ulta, and I wanted these so badly. This one I think is Opal Glow, yeah. Then I have Opal Glow, which is the one that I purchased myself. I mean, it's pretty, it's just, I don't know. I don't need it. I mean, I do need it, right? I'm keeping it, but it's not something I'm like excited to put on my cheeks. But I do think it'll be a beautiful glowy product to use on my chest and neck next summer, finish them up, and then be done with them. So those two I'm gonna keep. I have my Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk Beauty Light Wand in Pillow Talk. This is another thing. I think I actually may end up passing this one along to my daughter. She has been itching for a Charlotte Tilbury product, and again, if I'm wanting a liquid highlight, this is what I'm reaching for. This honestly is probably a little too deep for my skin when I'm at my fairest, and I don't see myself getting any use out of this again until potentially next summer. And again, I still just don't feel like it's like the perfect highlight for me, or the perfect highlight shade. So I actually think I'll pass that along as well. And then finally, I have the Jaclyn Cosmetics, the Old High Gleams liquid highlighter. This is something I'm gonna use on my body. I keep saying I'm gonna do that, and I haven't worked my way through this yet. But I'm gonna do that rather than Declutter, because it is a really beautiful, very, very highlighty product. I just need to actually work my way through it. So that being said, we are keeping 8 liquid highlights, decluttering 4. Of the 8 that I'm keeping, these are really the only 2 I can see myself actually like, well, this one is actually probably the only thing I would use targeted on my actual like cheeks. 3 for the body. These I could use like all over my face. This I need to use up. And if I feel like this is going bad, maybe I'll do like one more year-end declutter. But as of this moment, I'm gonna keep 8 liquid highlight, declutter 4. All right, then I have all of my like balmy highlights. So let's see what we have here. First up, I know I'm needing to get that hair out of the way. I'm definitely going to be keeping my rose ink highlight. This is an opalescent. I am so close to being done with this. I really, really am hopeful I can still finish this before the end of the year. The day that I'm filming this specific portion is October 31st. So by the time you see it, it might be like mid to end of November. Hopefully I will continue to work my way through this and could potentially empty this before the end of the year. This is something I would consider purchasing again in the future. I think this is such a beautiful, beautiful highlight on the cheeks. It is kind of that pink tone that I really like. I'm definitely more, if I'm reaching for like a cream or liquid product, I'm definitely more likely to reach for a cream over a liquid for highlight. But this maybe still hopefully will be an empty before the end of the year. Keeping that. My Flower Beauty Day Glow. I do think this is a beautiful product. It's getting older. It is the champagne shade. Hold on. I'm like, my hand is so highlighted. Let me go wash my hand quickly. I'm gonna maybe swatch all of my like champagne highlights and see what I wanna keep versus what I don't. See, that is so pretty. And that still feels really nice on the skin. I also have the shade Parla from Westman Atelier. I'm definitely gonna keep Parla. This is like a really luxe product. It's almost got like pretty much a transparent base, maybe like a slight like nudie goldness to it. It is more of like a wet emollient product. It's not the most, like it can be quite annoying to use. It was just so luxe and I definitely had no business buying this, but I still did. I'm gonna keep that for sure. Let's see, the Ritual Defee one. I never reach for this one either. Oh, but it's so freaking pretty. That one is definitely a little bit more rose gold, whereas this is more of like a, almost like a champagne, or I don't want to say like white, but it's definitely a lot lighter. I know I'm going to be getting rid of my Patrick Ta Duo. This is in the shade Baby. This is the old formulation. It's garbage. I definitely don't need it. So that for sure is, I'm gonna declutter. These 2 I'm still thinking about. I have my one from Phytosurgeons in Divine Daylight. This is the Spectral Shine. This is gonna be really hard to swatch just because the nature of this product is it is more of like a stiff balm that you kind of like press into the skin. It's not gonna be like the most highlighty product, but it does give this really beautiful slight glow to the cheeks, and it is nice and blurring. This is something that I am going to be keeping, but it's not even necessarily what I would consider like a highlight, but I didn't really know where else to include this in my collection. That I'm gonna stay. This is the Flower Nose Shells Jewel Collection Highlighter Balm. This is more of like a sparkly, like glittery highlight. So this is something that I can definitely declutter. I don't know if you can see, but that definitely has like actual like sparkle flecks to it. So that one I can declutter. And then I have my 3 Merit Balms. So I have the shade Citrine. Where can I swatch these? Okay. There is Citrine. Citrine is definitely more gold. Jeez, this is so hard. I don't reach for gold that much, but that's so pretty. I also have the shade Kava, which is almost more sheer. I think I like the Flower Beauty one more than Kava. So I can declutter Kava because I know my daughter likes to play with Kava. I'm going to declutter Merit Kava. Then I have the shade Bounce, which I think is like the more pinky one. Yeah, Bounce is really pretty too. Ugh. I want to declutter more than 3 products. Like, do I need the Ritual Defeat one? Probably not. I also feel like I probably don't need the shade Citrine, which is the more golden of the Merit sticks. I just do not reach, like, I'm much more likely to reach for a pink or a champagne or even a rose gold. So actually I think I'll declutter Citrine and then I'll probably keep these 3. So I'll keep the Day Glow highlight, which I don't know if you can even really see swatched anymore. I'll keep Bounce from Merit, which is this really beautiful pink sheer highlighter. And then I will keep this one from Ritual Defeat, which is in the shade Solar Flare, which is right there. So that means of my cream balm highlights, I have kept 6 and I am decluttering 4. We did okay there. So of all of my creams / liquids, we are keeping 14 and we are decluttering 8. Okay, so that brings us to the even more difficult portion of today's video, which is my powder highlights. I really do not see myself doing very well here. Ugh, this is gonna be so tough. I don't see myself doing too good here. I love my powder highlights. Should we start with my pink ones? Because we know how much I love pink highlight. Let's see. Pink. I don't know that I'm going to be able to declutter any of my pink highlights. Let's start with the Gucci highlight. This is in the shade Frosted Lilac. This isn't necessarily a pink. This is like a true lilac. This is unlike any other like highlight I have in my collection. It is pretty unique and it is very brightening. Not my favorite highlight of all time, but this was very expensive and I really don't have another shade like this in my collection. I don't know if you can even like see that swatch very well. Should I try it on my hand? I do like this formula as well. It's definitely different from a lot of other highlight formulas in my collection. I am going to keep the Gucci. I have 2 Dior bronzers. So I have the shade 2. This is the Dior Skin Nude Air. In the shade 2, this is extremely old, but one of my first highlights in my collection, one of my first luxury makeup products in my collection, and just, I love that. And then I bought this one this year, and this is in the shade Pink Halo, and this has quickly become like my favorite highlight in my entire collection. Those 2 are definitely a little bit different. Not a lot different, but definitely somewhat different. I'm gonna keep both of them. I honestly love both of them. My Bobbi Brown Pink Glow is another like all-time classic favorite. This is something, mine's like crumbling to bits. I am actually, I'm like trying to press this in a little bit. I am actually hoping that I could finish this, probably not this year, but I do believe I could easily finish this product next year. Pink Glow is actually something I would consider buying again, probably just in the mini, but it's such a beautiful kind of sheer formula, but gives such a beautiful wet looking finish to the skin. This has been a favorite highlight of mine for several years. That one's gonna stay. I also have the Glow La La highlight, which I recently purchased from Benefit. That one is definitely a lot more intense. Very, very metallic and high shine, but really fun when you're wanting something a little bit more intense. I've really actually enjoyed this highlight. I have my Pixie by Petra. This has obviously more of a golden tone, which I really only use on my shoulders just because it's much too dark for my actual cheeks. I have a pan in both of these though, as you can tell, and I do use the pink shade. I don't know what the pink shade, if that has like a specific name. This is the Glowy Gossamer Duo in the shade Delicate Dew. There is the Pixie Pink. Actually reminds me quite a bit of the shade from the Glow La La. Both very intense, both beautiful. Keeping both. Not off to a great start here. Then I have the Rare Beauty Mesmerize. Again, this one is a little bit more intense. Oh my gosh. Oh, it's like you forget when you haven't used something in a little bit. That is really intense. A little bit darker than some of my other highlights. Like I feel like that's the darkest pink I have. It's more of like a rose gold. But again, very intense. Not decluttering. And then I have the Novelist Skin Glazing in the shade Ozone. Actually, I don't feel like that has really any pink to it. I think it's just the pink packaging kind of makes it look a little pink. Yeah, that is not pink at all. Okay, of my pinks, we are not getting rid of any. Off to a great start. All right, these next 4 are more like, more dark and like rose gold. So I have this one from the Flower Nose Little Angel collection. It's in the shade 2 Paradise Lost. Just beautiful, beautiful packaging. This one I really did enjoy when I was first starting to use it. It is so pretty. That is actually more of a pink. I'm curious how close that, oh, that is so pretty. Just curious how close it is to Mesmerize. Maybe a little bit more pink actually in tone than Mesmerize. I thought maybe I was going to declutter this one from Flower Nose, but that's actually so pretty. I think I need to keep this too. All right, then I have the Artist Couture Summer Haze. This one isn't, I don't know how to describe the shade of this. It's my only loose highlight. I actually love this. This is more of, I almost feel like this has a bit of peachiness to it. I think this one's beautiful too. I've actually loved this one, like shockingly, since I finally like got the nerve to use a powder highlight. I just think it looks really, really natural on the skin. Again, it gives like a really beautiful wet shine. One of the highlighters that I love to reach for in the summer, so keeping. Then I have the Knobless Skin Glazing in the shade Privilege. You can tell this has been a well-loved highlight in my collection as well. There's Privilege. Okay, Privilege actually looks a little bit darker than I remember. And actually, I feel like if I didn't, okay, I really was expecting to keep Privilege, but I actually feel like comparing Privilege to the Artist Couture Summer Haze, I feel like Summer Haze would be more flattering on my cheeks. They both kind of have like a peachiness to it, but Summer Haze is a little bit lighter. So I actually feel like, in a shocking turn of events, I think maybe I could pass along. This is such an old, I love the Knobless Skin Glazings and have for such a long time. I'll likely keep Ozone, but I think maybe I can pass Privilege along. Can you see? Let's just take a moment though. Like, I really did absolutely love and adore this highlight, but I actually think maybe, just maybe I can let Privilege go. Then I have my Laura Mercier highlighting powder in Rose Glow. Okay, this is a very subtle highlight, but I really, really loved this. Oh, was it last year or the year prior? I loved this, especially for a more subtle highlight, and I still really enjoy this for a subtle highlight. It's perfect for work when I'm not wanting to like blind my patients that are sitting in the lobby with my highlight bouncing off the walls. So I am definitely going to keep the Laura Mercier Rose Gold. We're doing so well, you guys. We've literally decluttered one. I'm also I'm quickly going to swatch the shade Sunrise from the Sephora collection. This is actually technically a colorful blush glaze, but I was using this as a highlight this summer and I really enjoyed it as a highlight. Actually kind of reminds me of of Privilege as well, except for this one's even a little bit deeper. There was something so special about this shade this summer. Almost as like a blush topper highlight hybrid. I'm definitely going to be keeping this because I just really, really enjoyed my time with this one this summer. Even though it's obviously a little bit different than what I typically would reach for in a highlight, we're gonna keep that. I think, let me grab these two. Let's go for a few things that I feel like I know I can declutter so that we feel like we're chugging along a little bit and getting rid of a few things. So I have this, which I got from C Beauty Mall last year. This, I don't even know the brand, XIXI, is the Flawless Clean Clear highlight. Okay, this is really pretty, but it is another like highlight that has glitter in it. Again, I don't know how well you'll be able to see, sorry. It's so dark out today because it's stormy, so my lights are quite bright, but this actually has glitter running throughout it, so I'm going to declutter that, as well as the Girl Crush Moonlight Dance. I got this thinking it actually would be a really beautiful like single shadow. Again, it's a highlight that has, it's more of like a clear transparent base, but it has, actually that is really pretty though. It does have glitter flecks running throughout and it's just, I don't need it. I'm gonna pass this along. I'm like, before I look too hard. I do think my daughter would really like this one though, so I'll likely be passing it to her. But we're gonna, it has actual, oh, that one is quite pretty though. I'm like, oh, do I need to possibly put this in like a chopping block? No, see, okay, swatched right, well, ugh. Do I want to keep that? A part of me does kind of want to keep that. Okay, this is not going well at all, but I think I am gonna keep that. I actually thought highlights was gonna go decently, and it's really not. All right, what else do we have in here? We have, okay, let's talk about Ray Rider next from Kaleidos, because this is one that I do think I actually will be decluttering. This is another one that has a bit of kind of glitter running throughout. This is in the shade Space Age. It's also older in my collection. It is a really beautiful kind of golden champagne highlight. Every time I swatch it, I'm like, oh, that's so pretty. But I just never reach for this. Oh, that is really so pretty. But I am ready to pass this along. I'm ready to pass Ray Rider along. This is a new highlight to my collection, so I'm definitely not going to be decluttering this. It's the NARS highlighter, the new light reflecting luminizing powder. I have the shade Electra. And this one is more golden than what I typically go for. But again, just that really beautiful kind of wet shine to the skin. I don't think this is going to be perfect for me right now, although I have been reaching for this in a couple of get ready with me's and still really enjoying this, but I think I will love this shade come the summer. I keep looking at Ray Rider and I'm like, oh, that's so pretty. It's just highlighting powder is pretty stuff. Let's get it together. All right, then I have my REM Miss Mercury, which I also really enjoy for a more subtle highlight. This is another one that I've worn a ton to work. More of a kind of lighter champagne shade. You can really sheer this one out, and I just think it's stunning and more work appropriate. So this one's staying. I will also definitely not be decluttering my Vesca Beauty highlight. This is in the shade Moonlight, one of my favorite highlights of all time, especially my most favorite non-pink highlight. I just love this. I feel like this is just so flattering on the cheeks. A little bit more subtle, and not quite as like, it's almost like a yellow gold. There's something about like the neutral undertone in this that I just feel like is so flattering. And anytime I'm not reaching for a pink, but I don't know what highlighter I want to reach for, I reach for my Vesca. I love this one so much. I really think we're gonna only end up decluttering 3 powder highlights. I also have my Makeup by Mario Pearl. This is the Soft Glow highlight, another more subtle highlight. I do like to have some subtle highlights. This is a beautiful one because it is not pink, but it almost has like a peachy pinkness to it. Oh no, my camera battery's gonna die. The Give Beauty highlight, also a more subtle highlight, but I was obsessed with this when this first came out. And again, kind of has a bit of pinkness to it. That Pearl shade by Makeup by Mario, unless it's just because I need to wash my hands again, like that really does have like a peachiness to it. I kind of like. Anyway, I'm gonna keep both of these. I'm going to keep Milk and Cookies from Ofra in collaboration with Steph Toms. This is a more intense highlight. There are all 3 shades swatched. I really enjoy the lighter shade, but again, not my most reach for, especially like not my everyday shades. But it is a little bit unique to my collection, and there's just something I like about having this. So I'm gonna keep that too. Am I gonna keep Lit? Am I gonna keep Lit? Maybe I can get rid of Lit. Lit from Milk. I don't even know if they make those in, no, I don't think I can declutter that. Too pretty, too smooth, too wet looking. Keeping. I'm not decluttering just to declutter, so I'm sorry, this has not been the most exciting powder highlight declutter. Definitely keeping ABHM Reezy. I just absolutely love that. Ozone I'm gonna keep 2 from Nabla. I want to keep one of my Nablas, and the fact we are decluttering Privilege is honestly shocking. There's Ozone, a little bit lighter and more of like a champagne shade, but beautiful, beautiful baked formula. I do really like that. And then I have my Charlotte Tilbury highlight, which I actually think I bought earlier this year. This is in Champagne Glow. I have literally no fingers left to like properly swatch this. Okay, my camera battery died, so I took the opportunity to actually wash my hands. I want to swatch this again, actually. I'm like, maybe I don't need to keep. Oh, it is pretty though. And it actually is like slightly more subtle. Okay, I am gonna keep that. And then the last one I have is Natasha Denona, the IIY Gen highlight. And I have the shade 1 Light. I think I bought this one last year. There's that one. Oh, so pretty. Okay, I'm going to say I can declutter Girls Crush. I don't need Girls Crush. We've got to at least declutter 4 powder highlights, right? Is there anything else? No. I don't want to declutter just to declutter. And I have definitely like really kind of been into highlight this year, especially like when I am actually wearing makeup. Okay. Okay. We are keeping 22 highlights, powder highlights, decluttering a whopping 4. So that means we are decluttering a total of 12 highlights from my collection and keeping a total of 35, which actually is, we're still decluttering 25%. I'll take it. I will say, what will I say? What will I say? I will say I am hoping that I can kind of work my way through some of these like more liquid highlights next summer. Like I'm hoping I can get through like these 3, and I have no business buying liquid highlights. Like I just need to not buy a liquid highlight. Once I get through these, perhaps then I could see myself replacing 1, but I don't need 4 of these type of liquid highlights in my collection at any given time. And then powder highlights, I need another powder highlight, like I need a hole in my head. But that is gonna wrap it up for the highlight category. Let's move on to something that I personally love. And we're gonna end this portion of this declutter series with face palettes. All right, you guys, I have my face palettes in front of me and I am ready to do some decluttering. I will say, admittedly, I do personally love face palettes. And just looking at some of these, like I just love some of these, but I do want to make a bit of a dent. I want to make a bit of a dent. So let's see what we're able to do. I'm going to start out easy and I'm just going to say I'm keeping all of my NARS face palettes. NARS face palettes are the reason I love face palettes. So I'm not getting rid of any of my NARS face palettes. I have the Hot Escape Cheek 1 and I have the Hot Escape Cheek 2. I have NARS Overlust. I have NARS Exposed. I have the NARS All That Glitters. I have the NARS Rising Star. My Rising Star packaging is broken. It's kind of annoying. And then I have the NARS Orgasm on the beach as well. So I am definitely keeping all of my NARS face palettes. These are like my treasures. I absolutely love these. They're going nowhere. Okay, I can try and move some of these a little bit more in frame then. Okay, more face palettes. I know I'm not gonna declutter, so we're gonna get these out of the way. I have my Evil Eye palette from Hourglass. I really enjoy all 6 of the powders in this palette. I really like Hourglass powders, so I'm also going to keep my ambient lighting palette, the 3 finishing powders, and then I think of the 3 face palettes I have from Hourglass, I think the Ghost Squad is probably my favorite. So this is also going nowhere. Okay, now it's time to get serious. Now it's like, what can we actually declutter? I feel like I've decluttered this and recluttered this and decluttered this and recluttered it. And every time I reclutter the ABH Nicole Guerrero palette, I don't use it. I feel like I keep recluttering it for like the nostalgia of it. But realistically, I cannot tell you the last time I reached for any of these. I have so many other highlighters in my collection that I'd rather be reaching for over these. So I am going to, and I hope that this means I'm decluttering it for the last time. I am going to declutter my ABH Nicole Guerrero palette. My Laura Geller Baked Gelato Swirl palette. This is a tough one. I have a pan in the shade Peach Glow, and I do really like the shade Ballerina as well. Let me swatch. Okay, I'm gonna swatch. There's Ballerina. It is just such a pretty shade. And then there is Peach Glow. Honestly, like Peach Glow, I'm just looking at the Dior, like Rose Shimmer. If I were to swatch those two next to one another, Peach Glow definitely has almost like more of a pink base to it. But those two really are quite similar. And I am gonna keep my Dior face palette. This is the Dior Backstage Glow face palette in the shade 4 Rose Gold. I really enjoy this face palette. I like all of the shades in here with the exception of the gold, just is not a most reach for me, but this is one that definitely is going to stay. Okay, let me swatch. Like, I really feel like my heart is telling me I don't need to keep, my Laura Geller. I feel like the time has finally come. I feel like it's time to declutter this. This is one of the oldest makeup products in my entire collection. So I think the time has come. We're ready to say goodbye to the Baked Gelato Swirl. That one I'm going to declutter. I will not, however, be decluttering my Lancome Dual Finish highlighting palette. I have pan in all three of shades, in all three of these pans. I absolutely love this highlighting palette. It is definitely a favorite highlighting palette in my collection, so that one is going to stay. I'm also going to be keeping my Vive Dimension face palette. I really enjoy this. I just feel like this is a really practical face palette for me. I get use out of all 4 shades within this quad, so I am going to be keeping that. Okay, let's talk about my Lorac face palette. This is just, it's so old and the powders in here just are not performing like they used to. It really is just time to say goodbye to this. Although I do really love this. Really enjoyed having this in my collection throughout the years. I will also say some of the blushes in here that I really love, like the shade Tea Rose, I feel like is pretty close to like if you were to mix Spacey and Gravity together. Actually, these two palettes kind of remind me of one another. I am going to keep my Lunar Beauty Moon Prism palette, but it is time to say goodbye to the Lorac. And with that, I will be keeping the Moon Prism. Okay, let's talk about the Patrick Ta Major Holiday Face Palette. I am going to declutter this. I just cannot with Patrick Ta. He just like really leaves a bad taste in my mouth. I'm not going to be decluttering every product in my collection from him by any means. But I just don't find myself wanting to really reach for this. I just don't really care. And I thought maybe I would reach into these like sparkly shades more, but I just am not. So I will be passing on the Major Holiday palette. My Becca Après Ski Glow face palette I do plan to keep. This is something that I love the shade Rose Quartz in here, and until I finish Rose Quartz and finish this bronzer, which I am pre-filming this quite a bit, so hopefully this bronzer will actually be done by the end of the year, or potentially I will have depotted it into something else, but I am gonna hold on to this because Rose Quartz again is one of my favorite highlights in my entire collection. The Bella Beauté Bar Oracle palette, I think I actually am going to declutter this. So it's 6 very intense highlighty shades. Some of them are like more holographic. I got this before I had replaced my KVD Alchemist palette. My daughter destroyed KVD Alchemist and I love that for inner corner highlighting. It has it has a pink, a purple, a blue, and a green, and it's perfect for inner corner highlighting when I'm doing colorful looks. So I got this to replace that, but I do have a replacement for that now, so I'm not reaching for this, and I'd rather just pass this along to someone else who could actually love and enjoy it. I'm also ready to move on from my Cali Contour kit, Cali Contour, Smashbox Cali Contour face palette. I have loved this so much throughout the years, but it's just another one of those that's just kind of getting old. I feel like the bronzer kind of goes on patchy or just wears away patchily. And the only thing that I really think I'm going to miss out of this palette at this point is the blush shade, but it's not like the blush is so special that I can't replicate this elsewhere in my collection. So I am actually ready to pass on the Smashbox Cali Contour. I am going to be keeping my Kaja Trio. I absolutely love this. I feel like this is really, really practical for me. It's something that I can travel with easily and something I do like to travel with or toss in an overnight bag. So I'm going to keep this. I'm also going to keep my Natasha Denona Blush and Glow. I actually really love this. Like, I really, really love this, especially for the springtime. I get use out of both shades in here. So that I'm going to keep. And then we have my Charlotte Tilbury Film Star Bronze and Glow. This, I feel like I struggle to say I'm going to declutter it because I do have a pan in here. So I've obviously committed, you know, a good chunk of use to this. And it's like the iconic Film Star Bronze and Glow. It's just the mini, but I mean, I remember just this product being such a coveted product, at least in my eyes, and then I got the mini and I was so excited about it. But ultimately, maybe I'll depot this into something else. I just am not excited about the highlight at all, and this is just not a product I am wanting to really reach for anymore. So I think I'm actually going to pass along the Charlotte Tilbury Film Star Bronze and Glow. I totally missed one. I missed my Natasha Denona Glam Face Palette. I'm keeping this. I do really enjoy having this. I like the 5 eyeshadow shades. I don't get the most use out of the blush and highlight specifically. The highlight more than the blush, but I do really like having this in my collection. So this is staying. And so with that, we are decluttering 7 and we are keeping 18. I already put my NARS face palettes away, but I have 18 face palettes that will remain in my collection, and I am decluttering 7. So not my best, but I definitely am ready to say goodbye to the face palettes that I am ready to say goodbye to. And like I said, I love my face palettes, so it's a struggle to even get rid of these, but that is my face palette declutter. All right guys, quick recap for those of you who like a quick recap, like some numbers. So how we ended this video. In the bronzer category, we had a total of 33 bronzers. We kept 21 bronzers, decluttered 12, and that means that we got rid of a total of 36% of my bronzer collection, which I'm super proud of and super excited about. Simply because I personally love bronzer, so to be able to like let go of that many bronzers makes me really happy and will hopefully allow me to focus more on the bronzers that I really love reaching for day to day. The point of my declutter series, especially this year, is not to like replace every single decluttered item with another bronzer. I am hoping to not regrow my makeup collection, so I'm really excited about the bronzer category. Highlight we didn't do as well in. We started with a total of 48 bronzers. We kept 36, decluttered 12, meaning we got rid of a quarter or 25% of my highlighter collection. I actually, like, putting this into perspective, I didn't even think we like reached above 10%. So I am really happy, obviously, that we decluttered 25% of my highlight collection. I still feel like my highlight collection is probably larger than it needs to be. Like, I need to potentially do, I don't want to do like a total no buy for highlight, because I feel like that's setting myself up to fail, because I feel like if you tell me I can't have something or do something, then like I must. But I feel like maybe I should give myself like a limit of the total amount of highlights that I could bring into my collection next year. I'm thinking about something like that. So potentially I would do like a product specific no buy next year, low buy. Anyway, that's not what this is about. 25% I'm still relatively happy with. We'll take it for right now. We'll take it for right now. Maybe a focus on my channel next year, or just a focus for me, not even necessarily on my channel, should be rotating through my entire highlighter collection next year and figuring out like what truly can stay and what I don't need anymore. And then of course I didn't write down my face palette number, so I'm going a little bit off memory here, but keep in mind that was another one I filmed a bit ago. I believe we ended up keeping a total of 18 face palettes, decluttering 7, which I believe is 28%, which is actually pretty good for my face palettes considering how much I like treasure my face palettes, and especially my NARS and like my Hourglass, I feel like I truly could not part with. So I feel like there's limited selection of things that like I could actually declutter. Some of my face palettes, though, the ones that we got rid of, were like very old and really needed to go. So that means in total for this video we had 106 total products that we were deciding on. I ended up keeping a total of 75 products and decluttering 31, meaning that we ended up decluttering a total of 29.2% of the products in this section of my declutter. Almost 30%, not quite. I will say my single eyeshadows and like all of like my random eye products are tomorrow. And I feel really good about what we did there. So maybe that'll make up for some of the like lack of what we did in today's video. But we almost hit the 30% goal, which I said in my previous video. I think my goal throughout my entire declutter series is to declutter somewhere between 30 and 40% of my entire makeup collection. Again, that is not to then just replace that 30 to 40% with replacement products. Yes, I'm going to continue to buy and try makeup, but I'm hoping, especially next year, just with many life changes happening, hopefully I can be a little bit more conscientious about like where I'm spending my money in makeup. Anyway, that is going to wrap it up for today's declutter. I'd love to know if you recently decluttered anything from these specific categories in your makeup collection. Let me know what you're letting go of before the end of the year. Thank you guys so much for sticking around to watch and for supporting me and my channel as you guys always do. I love you guys so much, and I will catch you in my next video. Bye.